Right, guys, Dieter here, Beer Idiots, live again. And this time I invited you to meet somebody from America, from Indiana. He's into the import export business and more the marketing of the beer. Welcome, Eddie Chimi. How are you doing?
Cheers. Doing well. Thank you.
Cheers. First of all, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Vanilla Noir from Prairie Artisan Ales. So it's about 14% imperial stout aged in oak barrels with some vanilla.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good. I'm drinking one of our Belgium regular Orvals, and you were a huge fan, as we just discussed.
Yeah, huge fan, huge fan. Got a nice little tattoo on my leg of Orval. So very happy to represent them.
Yeah, you already visit the brewery a couple of times, eh?
Yeah, a few times. Big fan.
Yeah. All right, but tell us a bit about in America. What do you do there now in the beer scene, and how did you start to get involved in the beer scene from being a normal beer drinker, I assume, alcohol drinker, to somebody who's now working into the craft industry?
Yeah, so I really didn't drink beer until I got into the business about 22 years ago, because the only beer I had had is American Light Lagers, which I did not enjoy, did not taste good to me, so I didn't drink it. And when I discovered there were other beers out there, then my whole world opened up. And my first experience with better beer was Guinness. I drank a lot of ciders, so I started drinking snake bites and eventually just moved straight to Guinness. And I was a big fan of coffee, so those roasted flavors really pulled me in. And that set me on a trajectory.
Yeah, all right. What do you do now in terms of beer? I introduced you as a beer marketeer, importer, but you do more the importing economical side. You're not, let's say, a graphic designer or something.
No, so I'm doing sales management, and
Hmm.
that's what I've done. Sales and sales management is what I've done most of my career. Most of my career, I've worked for breweries, some of the largest in the world, like InBev. I may be the only person you've ever, at least virtually, met that's personally shut down the bottling line at Garden. They were not
What
happy
did you do?
about that. I touched something at the brewery, and they had to completely shut down the bottling line at Garden. They were not fans of mine, but life goes on. But now I work for Indiana's smallest craft beer distributor. We
Yeah.
do mostly American-made beers, but we also and ciders and mead. We also do some imported through 12% imports.
Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, I gotta side branch the question a bit. Meat, they say it's getting very big in America. They say the number one imported alcoholic beverage, except beer then, from Europe to America. Is made gonna be the new craft beer or?
I think the lines are blurred between a lot of the liquids,
Uh,
between mead, cider, and beer these days. I could put an example of each one beside you, in front of you, that taste almost identical. But all the categories, craft beer is growing still at a slower pace, but it's still growing. Mead's growing, cider's growing, but beer sales overall are declining. And that's a challenge we're facing as an industry.
yeah. If the mark is saturated in craft beer, people go to other crafty alcoholic beverages, of course. Eh?
Yeah, and
Um,
anything that's perceived healthier, it doesn't have to be healthier, just perceived healthier. So the seltzers, any of the non-alcoholic beers, kombuchas, we're getting ready to launch a hard kombucha. So anything that has some perceived health benefits, people are really getting into. So we see that as a future growth category.
cool. And in terms of craft beer, do you import the most of your portfolio, or how big is the portfolio you have? You have a couple of hundred different types of beer. How long does a brand sticks with your firm? What is the numbers in that?
Yeah, so we currently have 13 different suppliers we work with.
Mhm.
And out of this, with those 13 suppliers, we have about 26 different breweries or manufacturers, mead, cider, et cetera, that we get product from. And typically we purchase directly from the manufacturer, and then we sell it to bars, restaurants, supermarkets, etc. So we're the middle tier in the three-tier system in the United States.
Yeah, in Europe you have a brewer, he sells it to an importer opens the containers and sells it towards your company, and your company does the distribution towards the bars, shops, restaurants.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, okay, and you have different importers then where you work with.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
uh,
we primarily work with 12% imports who import some international brands for us. Otherwise, the United States brands, we work directly with the breweries and buy straight from them.
yeah. Um, what is the number of European or non-European American brands?
We're about 98% U.S. brands at this
Okay.
time.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, that's a lot. I thought it would be more like trying different things from other continents also, but
Yeah, no, the imports here in the U.S., brands from outside the U.S., that category is continuing to decline, and it's slowing down,
okay.
much to the dismay of many of us old money tickers. We like the more classic brands, but that's not what is the growth category right now in the U.S.
Yeah, okay. And in terms of styles, you do also everything. It's like you have a wide portfolio in that, and you advise your clients also. That's a part of marketing you do.
Yeah, I mean, we'll buy and sell anything anything that we can with beer, wine, and mead. So, but the styles that are the most vibrant right now, I think, are very similar in Belgium. It's the pastry stouts, the
Yeah,
hazy
yeah,
IPAs, the fruit bomb IPAs. Those styles are more highly sought after and doing extremely well for us. And then the more classic styles that a lot of us that have been around a while really enjoy aren't moving quite as well, but we're
hmm
working hard to keep them alive.
yeah. And what is it pure craft made cider and beer you do, or you also take commercial brands like yeah, name me some.
Yeah, we really deal primarily with small craft manufacturers.
hmm
The only exception, the only brand we have that's in a bigger portfolio is Avery. So they're in a
hmm
larger portfolio with Founders and some other brands.
Yeah. What is small in US terms? Because we always say in Belgium here, like yeah, Duvel Moordgat. In Belgium,
Yeah.
we don't consider it as a craft beer, but probably in American standards of volume, it's like oh, cute little craft brewery. But for us in Belgium, it's not craft anymore. For the definition of many people.
Sure. I mean, craft in reality, craft is just a marketing term today. But for me as a drinker, I like to know the people I buy from. I like to
hmm
know the brewers, know the owners, know where the money's going, and know who I'm supporting. And that's the flag I fly.
Yeah. You already kicked that my next question off. Like, what is your definition of what is a craft brewer? Then you want to know the brewer. You want to visit the brewer also. Are there other criterias in terms of ingredients or things do's and don'ts? Are there don'ts as a craft brewer in your opinion?
Yeah, man, that's a tough one to answer. I can tell you that it's easier to answer the types of breweries that I respect personally than what I would define as craft.
Yeah.
Again, a beer can be craft, but not come from a craft brewery or come from a large company.
hmm
So it's a meaningless term in my mind in today's world. So for me, it's more about is that a reputable company? Do they put out a reputable product, a quality product? And is it the type of company and the type of people I want to support?
Yeah. Do you also look towards portfolio management continuity? Like they made a very good batch of some beers, but they switching the beers every half a year, totally different product wise, but also quality wise. How do you keep track on that, or is that sometimes a no go? Like, sorry, you put every half year something new on, I cannot sell it.
Yeah, well, so we do it all, and we have some of our breweries that have consistent brands, and we keep in stock every day and keep those going. We have some other breweries that may send us a pallet 2 times a year, 3 times a year, and just in limited amounts, and we appreciate that part of the business as well. So we do appreciate all that. We just want that it has to be high quality,
Yeah.
and we do our best to represent it that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I assume also, given the current market, there are a lot of brewers like sending you samples, and how does that go? Is it like you're a family business and everybody needs to agree, or is it like how do you get the input of new product?
Yeah, so pre-pandemic, we were getting probably 5 requests a week from suppliers
Yeah.
wanting us to sell their product. It was really virtually impossible for us to get through all of them. But if we have heard of them, if we knew about them, we would try as many as we could. I would sit down with our sales team and our general manager, and we would try the product. We would discuss it. We would talk about opportunities. And if the 6 salespeople that work for me, if they buy into it, then I know it can work. If even if I think it's great, if they don't buy into it, it won't work. So we just give up. So yeah, we use that. We use the criteria of they've had to be open for at least 2 years. They have to have a lab or access to a lab to maintain their quality.
Hmm.
Um, we have to visit them. We have to like them. They have to like us.
Yeah.
Life's too short. We're not going to work with people we don't like, and none of us have to do that. So we want to enjoy our jobs every day. We all work hard, so we better damn well have fun at it.
Yeah, true, true, true. Um, yeah, you already told me. So you're also suggesting beers towards, let's say, restaurants and bars. Are there also businesses that say, all right, you can, let's say, make a menu for me, and I want to change it every half a year now and then, and your company takes the lead in editing the menu or pairing, let's say, the food with the wine. Is that also, do you go that far, or is it?
We do. We offer that service. It depends on the
Mhm.
actual retailer. Some of them want that consultative services.
Yeah.
Some don't. But the ones that want it, we provide that service as well. But we have a lot of very, very good retailers. Now, with the current pandemic, I'm really worried that a lot of those bars and restaurants won't come back. It's about 40%. Pandemic, it was 40% of our dollar volume and probably 60% of our accounts, but 40% of our volume. Well, that's almost overnight, 40% of our volume disappeared and is
Oh.
gone. So we're doing everything we can just to keep the lights on and keep our jobs and keep going until we can get back to the new or get to the new normal. And then hopefully enough of our good retailers, bars and restaurants and independent accounts can come back and we can continue to work with them to grow the business.
Yeah, yeah. You also mentioned the pandemic where we now currently are in, which I also, when I interview people in Europe, it's going to be very hard for a lot of small bars because in a lot of countries they need to be closed for a couple of weeks, and also brewers. If the bars cannot sell enough, then the brewers need to produce less, and the bills keep coming, of course. How is an in-between company between the bar and the supplier? You have a lot of volume still stocked then that you cannot, where there is no demand for, and how does that turns out?
Yeah, we have a cooler full of kegs right now that we don't have a lot of places to get it out. Our bars and restaurants are able to do service, carry out, and delivery. So we're selling a little draft through those avenues right
Yeah.
now, but nothing compared to the volume we were doing before. Luckily, a lot of our cakes we have a long shelf life, and so they're not
Yes.
as date sensitive, and we're pretty good with those. For the items that are more date sensitive, the fresh hopped beers,
Yeah.
we've had to do some aggressive discounting to get it out there where we can to sell it before we have to take a total loss on it.
Indeed. Yeah, for the IPA scene, it's gonna be oh yeah, it's gonna be terrible, this pandemic.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot more barley wines in a year.
Yeah, yeah. And also, Are there any in the US now? Are there any like consumer groups or new measures taken towards brewers or companies that need to take losses in the craft scene? Is there any special news in that in your state?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of local support that's happening to support
Mm.
local breweries and local retailers in the service industry. And that's really incredible to see that support happening. On the federal level, our Congress has approved the CARE Act, which is supplying $3 trillion to help with the economy. And all the small businesses and bars and restaurants will be able to apply for those dollars and to help them get through this time. And it will help anyone that can get those dollars. It will help, but everyone won't get those dollars. And even everyone that does, it won't be enough to save the business.
Yeah. So, let's say in Europe, it's like it's you need to pay it later, but still you need to pay it, and it's money you don't have. So you can spread it a
Yeah.
bit to easier the pain, but it's not that you don't have. Yeah, and in law-wise, are there in Indiana, are there any laws that are like quite old-fashioned, like you cannot drink in public, or is there any state law that is not so craft-friendly in terms of services delivery or buy and pick up or so?
Yeah, I mean, every state in the U.S. has different laws. Than
Hmm.
every state has laws that are very quirky. Probably the strangest laws in Indiana are that you can only buy cold beer in a liquor store. So in
Okay.
most of the U.S., you can buy cold beer in super gas stations, but not here in Indiana. It has to be at a liquor store only. So there's pros and cons that come with that. Um, then we are allowed in Indianapolis at least to have open container. It's legal here, and that's a rare thing in the U.S. Most communities that is not legal to drink
What is an open
out on the
container?
sidewalk. That an open container of alcohol on the streets. You're allowed to walk down the sidewalk with this in Indianapolis if it's in its original container. I am not allowed to
Okay.
walk down the street with the glass. But I
Oh,
am
okay.
allowed with a bottle or a can. I can walk down the street, and that's a very liberal law that is not active in most communities in the United States.
Okay, yeah, totally didn't know that. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you already been to Belgium, so you know what the Belgium liberal law about drinking in public is.
I thought you just drink all the time in Belgium, wherever you are,
Oh, yeah, it's quite allowed there. Of course, you cannot
except
be
for
drunk in
driving.
public, but that's basically the only law we have there, I think.
Yeah, no driving.
Yeah, of course. All right. Um, yeah. Yeah. Tell us a bit. How did you start it then in the scene? You were not always an importer and a distributor, but you started in.
Yeah, so I actually worked in retail for a
Mm-hmm.
sporting goods store that sold college and professional sports teams, hats, jackets, jerseys, T-shirts. I was working my way out of that business. I had a friend who worked for a cider company and worked with a distributor here in Indiana, and he got me started with a local beer distributor, which is the largest one here in the state. But that's where I learned everything about the business and about sales of alcohol.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, it got me started there. And from there, like I said, I worked for probably a dozen different breweries around the U.S., including InBev out of Leuven.
Okay,
Um,
our Belgium friends.
yeah,
Yes. And did you always did sales, or you also brewed? You helped brewing. You did
I,
different jobs there,
I've
or?
homebrewed. I've homebrewed and I've
Yeah.
assisted on some professional batches. Certainly nowhere near a professional brewer, not even a good home brewer. But
Uh,
at least familiar with the process, and I understand what it takes
uh,
to make this great liquid that we love. But I've always done sales and sales management.
yeah, okay. And company-wise, how big is the company now? You have staff under you, I assume.
Yeah, so I have six salespeople that cover the entire state of Indiana, selling our craft beer, cider, and mead across the state. We have four people that drive and do the warehouse side, and then a couple of management people. So we're pretty tiny in comparison here in Indiana, we're the smallest craft beer distributor. So we have the Anheuser-Busch network, which is pretty big, the Miller Coors network, and then one other larger craft beer distributor in the state.
Oh, okay, okay. And you already been a couple of times to Belgium, that I heard.
Yes.
Do you also look that in Belgium to products to import, or that's purely fun, like following the beer and the passion? That's not to import, or
Well, over my career, I've worked with doing sales for several different Belgian breweries. Today, there isn't a lot that we do, just whatever comes through the 12% imports portfolio, which
Mhm.
is Tilcan, Houten, Domel. They come
Oh,
through, but that's all in my existing portfolio. But in the past, I've worked
okay.
for everybody from Struce to Cantillon to Drie to Timmermans. Of course, all the InBev brands,
Yeah.
all that fun stuff I've worked with in the past.
Ah, yeah, okay, okay. Because you mentioned Hoften Doornmal Cantillon. Is it like when the importer can have a monopoly on the brand for a year, or but that's the importer, that's new, not you as a distributor, eh?
Yeah, so the importer sets up their own contracts with
Yes.
the breweries there. Then they import it in. Then the importer sets up a contract with
Yeah.
us, the distributor.
Yeah.
And in most states, we sign a formal contract, but then state law always supersedes that. Most state laws in the US require basically say it's a marriage. Whoever is selling to the distributor, you're married for life unless you both agree to terms to get out of it. So to get divorced, you both have to agree.
But that's as you as a distributor from one importer, but you have more than
Yeah.
one importer for brewery A. No,
No, it would just be one importer for a certain brewery.
per state.
It depends. So, for example, Sheldon Brothers and 12%, they have their breweries they work with, and those breweries only import into the U.S. through them, through those importers.
Yeah, and the marriages, they went so far so good. All.
For me personally, yes, but it doesn't always work out that way. There are times when breweries have been held hostage by distributors and not let them go, or not did a very good job with their brand, but refused to let them go for a reasonable price.
Okay.
There's lots of examples of that, but it
Yeah.
varies state by state.
How does something like that happens then? So somebody agrees. I'm an importer. I agree to import something and to sell it, but you can only buy it towards me. Yeah, you
Mhm.
have to buy it, but you can say I want another price. That's open for discussion every year, I assume.
Yeah, all the time, really. Pricing can change per shipment.
Yeah. So the worst what can happen for you as a distributor is that me as an importer, I say sorry, you don't get it anymore.
If it's a product I have a demand for, absolutely. That's a terrible situation for me to be in.
Yeah, of course. Then you have to give your customers something new that they like, and to see that there are no losses. Eh? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But assuming the craft scene that it's mostly like common sense, those marriages that it's
Yeah, it's much different now than it was even 10 years ago. 10 years ago, they were much more strict, and there were different attitudes at the wholesale level and at the supplier level. But I think more and more those attitudes are changing, and people are being more flexible and really not wanting to hold back anyone from achieving their business goals. If we have a supplier that isn't happy with our performance,
mm.
cool, we're not going to hold them hostage. If we're not doing the job that we said we would do for them, then we will let them go and let them go to be with a different distributor.
Yeah, because he cannot sell his beer to a different distributor then,
Not
except you.
without, yeah, in our territory, not without us releasing them.
Oh, so yeah, it goes both ways, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, yeah. In Belgium, it's quite different. Is it also in America then that a lot of bars are owned by the brewers? Is that also something in Belgium? It's historically like that, but
Yeah, not in the US. There are some exceptions, and certainly for local breweries, they've made some legal exceptions. but for the most part, they've tried to keep breweries out of the retail side.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Finally, final question, Eddie. If you have one wish, and you may not say the word pandemic, what would it be?
Oh wow, not pandemic related.
Yeah.
Man, you didn't set me up for this one. This takes a lot of thought. I feel like a beauty contestant. I want to say world peace, uh, but
Yeah.
but I really just think understanding. If people could be more understanding of each other and open their minds and see other perspectives, I think that would change the world dramatically.
Uh, True, true. You want to do a shout out to some of your European or American friends or brands?
Oh man, I'm scared. I'm scared I'll forget someone. Um, but I can't wait so I can get on a plane again and come back to Belgium and visit many friends there and have many beers and eat well and look forward to my next visit there for sure. But I look forward to seeing everyone. If anyone makes it to Indianapolis, please come see us. Let me know. I've got beers I need help drinking,
Yeah, I have too much beers now. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
indeed.
I'd love to make that happen.
Yeah, cool. And when you're ever back in Belgium or Brussels or in the neighborhood, let me know. Then I have some very good geuzes also in my basement.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We will make that happen for
All
sure.
right. Eddie, cheers. See you.
Cheers.